All right, joining us to discuss SONA expectations is political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou. Good afternoon, Doctor. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. So, President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his maiden speech under the Government of National Unity, which is being made, or at least much is being made of this specific moment. Some saying it will either expose the cracks in the GNU or reveal a strong consensus among the coalition partners. What are your expectations of this maiden speech?
Mfundo, good evening to you. Good evening to the viewers at home. I expect a totally different SONA from the many SONAs that we have had in South Africa. The reason being that this one is going to be delivered under the Government of National Unity. And as you know, there was a cabinet Lekgotla that said which had to prepare for this SONA. I think this Lekgotla that took place could have been the best opportunity for the leaders of the different political parties that are in the GNU to come up with their own plans and also put an emphasis on the issues that they were raising during the campaigns whilst they wanted to be in office. Well, there could have been some period where some felt that and got excited that they are now in government, but this is the right time in which clear articulation by different political leaders and having a platform has to take place. And my view is that the different political leaders who sit in cabinet should be able to raise issues that are very close to their political parties and their hearts. And in the main, the very same issues that politicians were complaining about was the outside government, they should be able to advise the president so that they are raised in the state of the nation.
One assumes that we probably got an indication of where there are areas of convergence with just the opening of Parliament last year when we had the president delivering that specific address. There were areas of convergence, many know those. It be the economy, stabilizing energy, health, most of those issues, but then there's also issues of divergence, even when we look at health, the NHI, the Bella Act, and then now the Expropriation Act. Do you think that in this instance, just after the Lekgotla, we're going to see perhaps the president delivering a message that almost indicates or inspires confidence and indicates that there is unity within those political parties under the GNU?
There is no better opportunity like this one for political parties to be able to come together, sit in a formal forum of government and articulate their party position so that they become government position. My expectation is that those who are for or against a number of policy positions to be adopted, they had sufficient time to argue such in a cabinet. And my view is that you need that element of maturity that says that if I raise an issue and I cannot convince my counterparts in cabinet, that therefore should become the program of action of government. And that's why I say that the very same issues that are very close to the hearts of many political parties that are in the GNU, they should be able to argue that and ensure that such are actually included to be part of the program of government. And that will talk to the strength of those politicians and how such issues could therefore be received by ordinary citizens out there.
Now, Dr. Ndou, beyond the SONA being delivered under a new governance structure, it also comes amid a crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where our troops are deployed on a peacekeeping mission, which has resulted, of course, in the death of our troops. The Defense Minister just wrapped up a briefing before Parliament on that mission. MPs maintain we simply don't have the capacity to be part of that mission in the DRC right now. Do you expect the president to touch on this specifically and just the decision to continue to have our troops there in the DRC?
Apart from the briefing in the sitting that took place a few minutes ago in Parliament, you also require an element of assurance on the part of the president and indeed the direction that government is supposed to take. The deployment of the South African Army in the DRC came under certain circumstances, and one would expect that on a continuous basis, there is an assessment of the role of the army in that area and look at the advantages and the disadvantages of having the army right there. Apart from that, we have got our own international relations obligations, which we need to fulfill as a country. And my expectation is that the president should be able to speak in a manner where he is able to strike a balance and make an ordinary South African to understand why indeed do we still have the army in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Then there's the other issue that could probably overshadow the State of the Nation address. So many, even in just analysis building up to the State of the Nation address, would want to have tackled, which is our foreign policy or our relations with the United States post that threat by President Donald Trump. Do you expect this specific matter to form a significant part of the President's State of the Nation address? Because many citizens are quite concerned about those threats and the implications thereof if President Donald Trump would go ahead and decide to cut off aid to South Africa.
Indeed, there appears to be tensions and, of course, some element of uncertainty from the general members of the South African population. This is the moment where you require the negotiation skills, the diplomacy on the part of the presidency, and also to weigh the options on what, therefore, are the benefits and the disadvantages of our relations with the U.S.
But also, what tone, just pardon me for interjecting, but what tone should the president embody? Because here there are those that would say we need the president to be a person that affirms our sovereignty, and that speech must be fiery in response to those threats. But others are saying it needs to be reconciliatory and just almost extending the olive branch and being an individual that is looking to at least address the misinformation, but not necessarily one where we consistently want to affirm our sovereignty, to say whatever the decisions we make in our country, we cannot be bullied. What tone should he take?
Donald Trump is unapologetic about putting the U.S. first. I expect President Ramaphosa to be unapologetic in putting South Africans first. Whatever negotiations or form of negotiations that they could have, both of them should demonstrate the interest of their countries first. Of course, there are instances, and they are very much dominant, where you have other countries trying to bully others in order to adopt certain policy positions. You also have other countries that would love to interfere in the affairs of other countries to an extent where they want to influence policy positions. And the resources that we get from other countries appears to play a role in terms of how they actually direct our policies. And you therefore need the country's leadership that is able to create a balance and ensure that at the end of the day, we become beneficiaries and not get undue influence from other countries. But also, there are many other options that we can look at if indeed we cannot be able to reach an agreement with the US. It will also require our leaders to be able to stretch their hands that if the US is not available, maybe there could still be other better options elsewhere. We might not be aware that there are better areas because we might not have tested doing relations outside the dominance of the US.
If you're saying that the president must take the same posture to say South Africa first because it's America first, is that bullish posture not informed by one's GDP to a certain extent?
Unfortunately, it is to a certain extent, but when you allow yourself to be bullied and be forced to adopt positions that have got a potential to negatively compromise your own citizens, you might end up compromising your policy positions forever. South Africans, and as we speak about the land issue, some of them are saying this could be the right time to take what we expect is the right decision, because many generations that fought for this land appears to be disappearing, and we might end up not having anyone who has got a very good interest in the land question. And others could be saying maybe the right time is now so that we do what is right for those who fought for the land in this country.
Very interesting insights, Doctor. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. As always, thank you very much for joining us on the program. That's Dr. Levy Ndou, the political analyst, just sharing his SONA expectations.